to Campus Solution. This is yet another episode and we are so glad to be here. We thank you for all the reviews on the other videos and welcome to this video. So today we have an interesting topic, rape culture, and our guest, I'll let her introduce herself.
My name is Lisa Njeri. I am a KCA student, first year, doing Bachelor of Business Information Technology. And I am so glad to be here talking about this topic.
So maybe for a good start, we can start with a definition of rape culture.
Okay, so I think rape culture is an environment that has allowed the normalization of sexual violence, where the society has an attitude toward the gender and the sexuality.
Okay, so maybe with that rape culture, maybe we can look at how we got here. What's the history that has led this to become a culture?
Okay, so according to me, in the late ages, or maybe back in the olden days, this wasn't really a culture. Actually, if you look at the African community, the punishment for such an occurrence was so high. Like, if someone committed this offense, they were banished. It wasn't really normalized because it was such a high offense. I don't think that it was until the westernization came along, or the introduction of Western civilization, where the white man, pardon me, but I think that when the white man came along is where now women, the African women, started being objectified or viewed as objects to a point where they were now raped or sexually violated, and they had no right because the women were working under the white men. So I think that is where it all started.
And we picked it up and it became a culture.
Especially now that they came with the male dominance. Because even in the current world, we see that it is a male-dominated world. So I think that is how it basically started.
I like the way she gave us the history, because I remember even in Kenyan history when the Agikuyu were collaborating and then the Mzungu turned against him, the feuds came across because the white man was raping the Agikuyu women and the Agikuyu men couldn't tolerate that. So at least now we can see a brief history of rape culture and how it developed. So there has to be stereotypes on rape culture. Maybe we can go through that. Stereotypes in our society about rape culture, maybe about this person is supposed to be raped, in quotes. Maybe we can go through that. Okay,
so I think what you're trying to say is maybe we start on the causes or how rape comes along in our society. Okay, if I was to say what the causes were, because I don't really think there is a justified cause as to why rape happens. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't even be a conversation. But it really is caused by sexual aggression, lack of respect, sadism, which is caused by sadists who basically want to see other people in, pain. But now in our current society, if I lean towards the side of women have been stereotyped or have been looked at as objects, or rather, they have been downgraded to a point where they're not supposed to wear, according to society. There are certain clothes that if women wear, they're asking for it.
That's asking for it. Okay.
So if you see a woman possibly wearing a short dress, a short skirt, or just a mini skirt, or maybe even an open back top, she is wearing that to, reveal her body or get attention, when in fact she is just embracing her femininity and being a woman. Or you find a case where, let's say, ladies went to a party together, maybe got drunk, which I don't think drinking is a crime because
we are young.
Youth tend to do that. So you find a scenario where if it does occur to her or happens to her, the first question she would be asked is, were you drunk why were you drinking? You went there with that intention.
What were you wearing?
What were you wearing? Did you ask for it? Were you flirting with that guy? Are you seeing what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So I think basically those are the stereotypes that are there. Yeah.
And I think that's sad.
It really is sad because it deems women, or maybe it doesn't give women the freedom to express themselves in any way, or I think women have the right to wear what they want. They have the right to feel comfortable in any environment, and they have the right to their own bodies. I think, are you getting what I'm trying to say?
I'm getting what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, so I think as a society we've changed our perspective so much, but we have really introduced a culture that is absolutely bizarre. Yeah.
Okay, and basically what she's saying is, growing up, we were taught, as girls are taught how not to get raped.
Yeah.
Other than men being taught how not to rape people.
That is true.
And it has to stop.
It does.
And how does it stop?
Well,
I think number one, let me say the number one thing is having these conversations. Having these conversations, yes. We continue to raise awareness.
Because I think as a society, this conversation, it's not that it's new. It's actually a conversation that was started so long ago.
When the first man raped, when the first person raped, the conversation started,
because women need to be heard, both women and men need to be heard, all the victims need to be heard, so that this is stopped. So I think that society has to teach a man or a woman that you cannot rape. The fact that we grew up being told this is how you should dress, this is how you should sit, you shouldn't do this and this, so that you don't invite someone doing the action. And that to me really has never made sense, because if from that early age, let's say little boys or adolescent boys are told you are supposed to respect a woman, do not touch her without her consent. If a woman is wearing this and this, she is not in fact asking for it, but being comfortable in her own skin. Therefore, I think sex education is something that should be taught. I'm not saying from a very young age, but probably from the adolescent stage, so that, both boys and girls grow up with this wider view of the world. Yeah.
And also emphasizing on consent, especially among young people.
Consent. Because one thing about consent should be enthusiastic and a clear yes. Anything aside from that, because if a woman is drugged, shoving you away or turning away, especially in parties, when people drink, most of them are usually not in their right senses.
Yeah, so they have impaired judgment.
Exactly. So they don't really have the strength or the energy to probably move you away. And some people mistake that for consent of some sort, or as an invitation to in fact do the action. Yet they don't bear with them the effects that these things have afterwards, because they cause trauma. If we get now into the effects,
the afterwards effects.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. Okay. So a reminder, rape doesn't only happen to women, it happens to women and men. Yeah, and in our society, with a man who doesn't speak up, now what if he's raped? What happens? Most cases being men are raped by overage women who are older than them, yeah?
Right.
So the men, how does that go about? So the men?
I was looking at the statistic this morning.
Yeah?
Yeah. In Kenya, 15% of women and 6% of men, aged from 15 to 49 years old have in fact endured sexual violence. And I think in society, when people say a man has been raped, I don't know, it's so shocking to them.
Yeah.
It's like so shocking, and they tend to ask, how does that even happen? Is that even an actual situation? But it indeed is, because I think how men have been brought up, they've been brought up not to be vulnerable, so they can't speak when it occurs to them. I don't think they have the freedom to actually speak about it because no one would actually believe them, right?
Yeah, also with how we've been socialized, and a woman has been socialized to cry.
Yeah.
Oh my, you didn't call me beautiful, let me cry to the world. Oh my, I got raped, let me cry.
Yeah.
But a man, he has to be strong, and he has to carry the world, he has to carry the family. So in the case when he is raped, he just shuts down.
Yeah. And I think actually men suffer more skepticism, and like worse trauma than a woman would. In my view, actually, I did look it up, and that is what happens because they do not have a safe space as a woman would, right? Yeah, I think that is what happens in society nowadays.
So unfortunately, I'm not a man. I couldn't ever live in a man's body.
Yeah.
So even if I wanted to help men, what do you think they can do? You know, maybe as men, even us as society, what can we do? Because men are still being raped and we rarely hear about it. So what can be done for the man?
I think what can be done is possibly coming up with a safe space, or maybe creating platforms where a man can talk freely, even if it is, saying their own stories. They don't have to be, how do I say it? You don't have to show your face, but if you can, the fact that you are ready to share to speak it out and share your own story will, encourage other men who have undergone it, or other little boys who have undergone it, have the courage to speak and get help, because I am so sure it affects their mental health and they're traumatized for years. So yeah, I think coming up with safe spaces and platforms where men can be helped or little boys can be helped would be so much helpful, and it would, help curb or possibly reduce such cases, or raise the number of men who now come out and speak it out and get further help.
Yeah, I like the way you said for men to speak out, because there's an analogy I use in my head. Once something happens to you and you don't say it, it creates a home in your heart, in your body. Then as the days go by, the home becomes bigger. So even sometimes it reaches to a point and it's beyond damage. And I think that's why there are a lot of broken men, man.
Yeah.
A lot of broken men.
Yeah. In fact, the fact that you brought it up reminded me that yesterday was actually International Men's Day. It was to remind men that they are indeed heard, they are seen, and they should speak out all their emotions. They should be allowed to show vulnerability without being deemed or seen as weak. Yeah.
Okay. I really like that. Man, nakuwa enlightened, man. Yeah, okay, so still there are women who rape women. Now we go to the LGBTQ community, a very sensitive topic, but it happens. There are men who rape men. What about that? It being also a small community, and the cases are there, but they never speak up because the identity itself, it's a traumatic thing. So even to get to a point where I was sexually assaulted in this identity, it even becomes more traumatic. So how does that go?
Well, first of all, as a society, of course, society is all of us, right? We the people make this society, and we all have different or broad opinions on this topic. So when it comes to the people of LGBTQ community, I think it will become a matter of acceptance, because they're just human beings and these things do occur to them. So when they possibly report, if the victims report, I don't think they'll be heard, because according to society, it's already a crime, right? That you are a member
of the LGBTQ community.
So they are deemed, they are shunned, and locked out. So I think we should take responsibility as a society, because such actions shouldn't happen. It's so sad to hear of a woman raping another woman, yet we are talking about building each other, and
because there was a case study on Instagram about a lesbian who was raped, and when they went to the police station, they couldn't be helped because how will that even have evidence?
This happened in Kenya.
Yeah, how will that even have evidence of a girl being raped? You get?
Yeah.
So I think it's about us opening up to the subject, because rape just takes away humanity from people, right?
Yeah.
It is an
inhumane thing.
Yeah. So let's get legal. So after, cases in Kenya, they're just ugly cases. After the rape, it just gets ugly. No one ever wants to. Maybe you can expound on that when it gets legal, yeah?
Okay. First of all, according to my opinion, I think the punishment that is currently there for rapists or these perpetrators is so... I don't think it's enough, because the fact that you'll only undergo 3 months of imprisonment, then you're allowed to walk freely. You weren't even... most of rapists, 99% of them get away with this action, and even those ones that are imprisoned, the stories are really never heard. You will hear the story of the victim. The victim will also be on the news, it will become a hashtag. Yet this person is undergoing a trauma that no one actually understands. So I think these people should suffer a higher punishment, in all honesty, because it is such an inhumane act to do. Yeah, so when it comes to legal terms, I think us as a country should, improve or take matters more, possibly just improve on that. I don't know how to say it exactly, but I think they should suffer a higher consequence, because that is really inhumane. And yeah, I think that. And when it comes to tending to rape victims, you see, like recently, there was a previous concert in Kenya, and unfortunately a girl got raped in the parking lot. Yeah. So when her friends rushed her to the nearest hospital to help sexual assaulted victims or rape victims, they were told to wait till the next morning. And it really doesn't add up, because this person is undergoing trauma, and they should be tended to immediately to find that physical evidence, right? So
and also to remove any...
Yeah, because eventually there would be possibilities of STIs, bruising, bleeding, all these physical effects. So the fact that this girl had to wait till the next morning really doesn't add up and really doesn't make sense, because they did in fact go to another hospital and they were told the same thing. And according to several people on the Twitter trend, that is the law. I mean, what do you mean that is the law? I think that rape victims or rape cases should be tended to with immediate effect, because these people need to be, examined, helped mentally, physically, yeah. So I think on that sector, hospitals should do better, because it should be running 24/7. Yeah.
Okay, I know we are not professionals, so might you know the procedure? Let's say someone gets raped. Might you know the procedure afterwards? What they should do? Maybe things we can advise them, because it could happen to anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. The immediate procedure. Yeah, of course, they'd have to be rushed to the nearest hospital to be examined for any possible STIs, to remove any physical evidence. Yeah, and then eventually now get the mental support, because they're going through it, they're going through trauma, they're going through, flashbacks, especially those things.
The flashbacks.
They will,
and they just think what they could have done right,
and that is what,
to avoid that.
Yeah, it causes self-blame and self-guilt, which is so sad, because the fact that the victim is the one feeling the guilt instead of the rapist does not make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
That's what leads to depression and other mental health cases. Yeah, so I think after being rushed to the hospital, they should get mental support immediately so that they'll be able to help. Or maybe, from support groups, right? Or just as I was talking about when it came to men, creating a safe space for everyone. Of course, not every victim will be able to speak right away, so they should be allowed to feel what they're feeling, but they should also be reminded that it was not their fault and they were not asking for it. It is the rapist's fault and they're not alone. Yeah.
And there shouldn't be any justification for rape, right?
Be.
I think I saw somewhere that when one gets raped, the clothing, you shouldn't throw it away. Your clothing, in case it has blood.
I've never had of that.
You've never had of?
No.
Okay.